What's up guys? Today I've got a budget phone to talk about with you. It's the Xiaomi Redmi 9T. It has been released just last month along with the slightly more expensive Redmi Note 9T, and it seems to be looking to follow the footsteps of a fairly successful Redmi Note 8. Is the Redmi 9T a good buy though? The competition in the budget price range is quite strong, so it's hard to impress anyone. I will talk about what I like and dislike about this device and whether it earns my recommendation or not. So without further ado, let's start with the good things. First of all, the build quality. So this is an all-around plastic device, but it's really solid. I haven't noticed any squeaks or other weird sounds coming from the frame. It's built like a tank, and I think this is the best you can really expect in this price range. The second thing I was impressed with was the battery life. Of course, it's not that surprising considering the phone has a massive 6000 mAh battery, but still, it's an easy-to-day phone. So if the battery life is your main priority, then I think it is really worth considering. One thing to note is that it comes with an 18-watt fast charger, so with this massive battery it takes a while to charge it, around 1.5 to 2 hours. And the third thing to talk about, I like that even at this price they still manage to fit some stuff that you will not always find in phones at this price range. So first of all, there are two versions of this phone. The first one at $150 comes without NFC, and there is another version with NFC for $10 more. So I think it is definitely worth to shell out the extra $10 for NFC. Then the phone comes with headphone jack and, most surprisingly, the stereo speakers. Of course, they're not the loudest, they're also not the best ones you will ever hear, but as you can hear, so it's really nice to see those features in budget devices. So let's talk about the things that weren't really that great, and at least for me, those are some major drawbacks. First of all, it's the general performance. Of course, this is a budget phone, Snapdragon 662, UFS 2.1 storage, so you really can't expect miracles. But it's really hard not to compare this phone to the Poco X3, which is just around $30–40 more. Right after taking the Redmi 9T out of the box, I did notice some minor stutterings or just random little lags when doing some basic stuff like opening apps, switching apps, opening the camera app. Of course, the fact that the phone comes with a rather mediocre 60Hz IPS panel doesn't help with the general perception of the fluidity of this phone, but I didn't notice stuff like that with the Poco X3 at all. Maybe it comes down to some software optimizations with this chip in particular, but it's 2021, so I would expect even in budget price range for the phones to handle basic operations without any lags or stutterings. The second thing is the camera system. It's not that it's really bad, no, but it's supposed to be a super quad camera. Of course, we all know this is just marketing, and it's not that super, but from the start. The phone has 4 cameras, the main wide lens, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera, and 2 pretty much useless 2 megapixel macro and portrait cameras. The photos from the main camera in good lighting conditions are, just as basically with every other modern smartphone, decent. Of course, there are some problems with the dynamic range and the color science isn't that great, but some of this stuff can be fixed even after taking the photo. And in general, the sharpness is decent. These are definitely good, serviceable photos. Unfortunately, things get worse once you switch to an ultra-wide or when the lighting conditions aren't that good. As you can see, the ultra-wide photos clearly are very soft. This is what happens when manufacturers use a really small sensor with a fairly low resolution. I say that a lot. Ultra-wide cameras do need the higher resolution way more than the cameras with the smaller field of view, just because they literally capture more. So the lower resolution is more visible on the ultra-wide photos than the photos coming from the main wide lens. As for the low-light photos, there are no miracles here. The main camera has a fairly small 1/2-inch sensor, so it's just not good in low light scenarios. Night mode does brighten up the scene a bit, but it introduces a good amount of noise. As for the video, so the phone can only shoot in 720p or 1080p 30 fps. Here is an example of a 1080p 30 fps video. So it's nothing special, pretty much on par with the stills performance for this phone. It also doesn't come with any sort of stabilization, so I wouldn't recommend shooting any videos while in motion. Here is a video of me just walking slowly, and as you can see the camera is just all over the place and it doesn't really look good. So in general, I wouldn't recommend this phone if you want to shoot videos, and if you really have to, just make sure to move as little as possible. Okay, do I recommend this phone? Not really. Like I said, it's really hard not to compare it to the slightly more expensive Poco X3, and unless the only thing that matters to you is getting as much battery life as possible, then I would really shell out the extra 40 bucks or so for the Poco X3, and you will be a lot more satisfied with this device. Okay, that's it for me for today. Make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you liked the video. I have some really interesting videos coming in the near future. I already have the Vivo X60 Pro Plus with me, and I also have the Motorola Edge S coming, so the videos for these two phones will be coming in the near future. So subscribe if you don't want to miss that. And I'll see you in the next video.